Chapter 10 Magic Beyond Magic. Song of all songs till we pass the bright portal. Theme of all themes when we gather on high. Joy of all joys through the ages immortal. Christ and his love as the glad years roll by. The day rose beside Sindoi's cottage, was opening pure and white in the early dawn when Teacher Dawad and Kandima slipped away into the morning. The rose would be pink at noon and red by sundown. Kandima picked one of the white blossoms and fastened it onto the boygun, where all her possessions were packed for traveling. The rose is just like this day is going to be, Kandima thought to herself. It will get brighter and more beautiful every hour. Goodbye, little one. Tuan turned Kandima's face up to his, and as he had done that night in the village when he first saw the injured eye. Your face is sweet and beautiful again, and you are clean and healthy. Be careful to keep clean and to be a good, obedient girl. I will be up the mountain one of these days, Tuan sighed. Why do you sigh? Asked Dawad. This is a beautiful thing that has been done. The village people will be astonished, and the parents will be beside themselves with joy. I know, I know. Tuan laid his hand on the young man's shoulder. I was not thinking of that. I was thinking of the thousands of little ones who suffer such terrible hurts, with no one to relieve their pain. Then the smiles came back to the gray eyes, and he walked with them to the curve of the hill. Are we nearly there? It was the 100th time Kandima had asked the eager question. Do you see that green hill, with the great tree standing higher than all the others? Dawad had deposited the bogan by the side of the path, and now he pointed far across the valley. That's home. Kadima looked at the distant hill. Come on, let's hurry. I want to get there before sundown. So saying, she scampered along so briskly that Dawad marveled at her tireless energy. All day long she had been running ahead of him. What kind of medicine did they give you in Singapore? He asked finally. I never saw a child who could run up a mountain like you have today. Kadima laughed as Dawad puffed along under the weight of the laden boygun. I guess they cured me of all my sickness, and it just feels good inside me. I want to run and laugh, and of course, I want to see father and mother and Chaya and Bonnie and the new baby. The travelers had come to the edge of the clearing, where the path emerged from the jungle before anyone discovered them. Then there was a great shout raised. Kandima comes! Kandima comes! Mukit was running through the village like a wild thing, screeching the news to everyone. In an instant the village was alive. Men, women, and children tumbled from every door and raced one another up the hill. Kandima had waited long for this moment. Dawad seemed to sense its importance and lowered the bogan. The two stood waiting while the eager throng rapidly approached. Wonderful, wonderful, they exclaimed in loud voices as they crowded around Kadima. Look, the awful eye is completely cured. It is as good as new. Wonderful, wonderful. Mother burst into tears. Chaya danced with joy, and Mukit bounced here and there and everywhere, yelling for no reason at all. The amazement of, of the village knew no bounds. It was better than any of them had dared to hope. Oh, see her beautiful clothes, shouted Elijah. I never saw such clothes before. Do all the Tuan's children wear such things? How fat you are, screamed Koket's daughter. They must have given you the best rice in the world. Everyone talked in a loud voice. They were so excited. They seemed to have a need for yelling in order to reassure themselves that the things they were seeing were actually real and not some dream of magic. What is in the bogan? Mokit's mother asked. Have you got more clothes in there? Kadima stood in the midst of the shouting company. Calm and with a feeling of pure delight, they felt of her plump arms. They turned of the hems of her pajama trousers. They stroked her hair. They pinched her cheeks. And most of all, they examined with keenest interest her new eye. Can you see out of your eye as well as you ever did? Inquired one of the village fathers. For answer, the little girl lifted her hand to her eye. With a quick movement, flipped it out, holding it in her extended hand for everyone to see. The astonished villagers fell back in consternation, knocking one another over in their fright. This was magic beyond magic. It was too much. Kandima's merry laughter rang out loud and clear in the evening air. The roguish Kadima laughed until the tears ran from her good left eye. Mukit was the first to recover himself as he again ventured to draw near to this miracle of miracles. She slipped the eye back into place again. Kandima, do that to your other eye, he commanded. At this, Kandima laughed again. The good folk again drew around her, and together the whole glad company descended to the village. That was an evening nobody in Durian village ever forgot. There was not room in the home of Kandima's father for all the people to gather, so Dawad asked all of them to come over to his cottage. By much crowding, by much crowding, they managed to get in. There were many questions asked, but the contents of the Bogan were the center of interest for all the small folk of the village. As each toy was removed from the package, Kadima had a story to tell about it. With great amusement, she told of her fright at the first sight of the red bus. This little girl is very tired, Teacher Dawad explained to the excited villagers. I think we should all go home to bed, and another day will come tomorrow. Then we can hear more about Kandima's travels. Chaya, the two girls, had crawled under their mosquito curtain after the new baby had been properly admired and cuddled. Chaya, is my dolly that Mukit gave me still tied to the beam? Chaya crept out from under the curtain and scrambled up to the high beam from which she untied the precious bundle and delivered it safely to its owner. Kadima had taken the dolly Ellen in her arms. With great tenderness, she gathered the other baby to her breast. Surely you don't want that ugly thing now that you have the nice new baby from the city. Chaya eyed the wooden doll with great distaste. I love them both the same. Kadima held the dollies close. God loves all his children the same, and so do I. She laid them down side by side and drew a corner of the red blanket over them. Tuan loved me when my eye looked so terrible, and even the sailor on the great boat was so frightened of me that he cried out like Mukit does when he is scared. The two girls and the two dollies snuggled down to sleep. Early the following morning, Kadima took a large bar of yellow soap and a bundle of cloths in a flat basket and went down to the spring. Two or three of the most energetic women of the village were there already. With amused smiles, they watched Kadima spread her small garments on the flat washing rock and began to scrub and beat vigorously. She paid no heed to their watchful attention, but kept steadily at her task until the small pile of dresses and the rosebud pajamas were as clean and fresh as they could possibly be made. She looked admiringly at them. Even Sadoy could not wash them cleaner, she assured herself. Returning to the hut, she fetched a length of rattan and fastened it between a corner of the hut and the durian tree. On this she hung the washed garments. Mukit came to watch this last part of the washing. He even helped a little with the fastening of the rattan clothesline. "You are very clever to think of drying your clothes like this," he said thoughtfully. "If you tried to dry them on the grass, the pigs would probably catch them up. It seems to me there are more pigs than ever before." Kadima eyed one of the razorback swine, which, as usual, were roaming at will about the village. "There's been a big fight about the pigs," Mukit became confidential. "Gulan has got more than anyone else, and they all say that they will not get rid of their pigs unless he does." Every morning after that found Kandima at the spring with her personal washing. She remembered how the white uniforms had looked in the hospital. She remembered Sandoy and her beautiful washings drying on the hill at the House of Children. In her stout little heart, she resolved that she would never be dirty again. The village folk laughed at her. "Who sees you, Kadima, to make you so particular about your clothes?" they asked. "I can see myself," she answered, rather tersely. Kadima had grown so plump on her long trip to the great city that she was scarcely smaller than Chaya. "I wonder if you can wear my new dresses too," Kadima remarked generously as she folded away her clean washing. So she tried one of them on her sister. It was a little short, but the happy smiles of Chaya and the warm contentment in mother's eyes settled the matter. Kadima gave Chaya half of her clothes, but she reserved the rosebud pajamas for herself. Mukit was rewarded with a book, a kaleidoscope, the stuffed elephant, and a small red bus. He had never imagined such wealth and became Kandima's devoted slave from that day forward. Elijah was not forgotten, and baby Bonnie could be seen any day running small trucks and motor cars over the rough floor of the hut. Having been instructed by Kadima as to the proper noises of sputtering and snorting that went with the motion of such toys, all the village was richer for the visit of Kadima to Singapore. Duad remarked, "She is the lesson book from which all the people are willing to read." "Elder sister," was Kandima's voice calling at the door of Kokit's daughter. "Come in, child." The young woman greeted Kandima with kindness and affection. She sat down cross-legged on the mat with Kokit's daughter and watched with intelligent interest as she slowly fastened a winnowing basket from strips of bamboo. "Tell me, Kandima," began the young woman, "what kind of medicine did they use to make your eye well again?" "They made me go to sleep, and when I woke up, the bad eye was gone. And then after a long time, they put the new eye in where the old one had been." Kandima then related the marvels of the great hospital in Singapore, which were always wonderful to the listeners in the mountain village. "Do you remember how I have always hated the white man's medicine?" Kandima nodded. Kokit's daughter then said earnestly, "I am sure now that the stories I have heard about it are false. Will you follow the Jesus teaching, elder sister?" asked Kandima. It is Jesus who makes the people in the hospital so kind. It is Jesus who makes the Tuan kind. It is Jesus who makes the house of children happy. And I believe he can make any house bright and happy. Then Kandima told Kokit's daughter of the beautiful Sindoi and how she clasped her hands and knelt every morning and evening to pray. She told of the clean and cheerful little cottage, the bamboo strips lay neglected as the daughter of Kokit listened. It is the pigs, she finally said. My husband Gulan loves the pigs, and he will not give them up. If it were not for the pigs, we could follow the Jesus teaching. But with the pigs around, we are always dirty, and we cannot be clean people. That night, Chaya and Kandima lay awake for a long time, trying to think of some plan to rid the village of the pigs. But both girls fell asleep without reaching any decision. After all, what could two small girls do against 100 pigs?